no other activities. Mr. Colton, say a few words for us. I'll
Okay.
do a translation for you. Okay.
First of all, I want to thank CASS and Dr. Laura and Angel Wu. First of all, they helped us clean up the neighborhood on this past Saturday. They were part of the neighborhood cleanup. Their particular team from this organization was doing Kings Highway. And
OK，Mr. Colton 咧就多謝大家參加呢個會議，就係呢個禮拜六咧，我哋咧就掃地啊！我哋咧中心咧派咗好多個義工去呢個 Kings Highway 嗰度掃地嘅，along Kings Highway to always West Sixth Street。OK，we did a very good job. Thank you, Mr. Colton, for organizing this campaign. Thank you.
And Susan and I have been organizing it like for 10 years. And we're continuing to do it this year. And we've had two. We have another one coming up September 30th. September 30th, we'll be having another cleanup of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And obviously we invite CASS and other community groups to join us because it's important. When the neighborhood is clean, it's a much more better environment for everybody. Everyone feels better, and if they feel better, things go better for the neighborhood.
OK。
And, all right, you want to
Okay,
say
yeah,
that? And then
sure.
there's one more thing I have to thank you for.
OK，嗱呢個咧清潔運動咧足足做咗10年㗎啦。OK，做咗10年，因為咧呢個呢個 Colton 先生講咧，呢個乾淨嘅鄰居咧對我哋嘅健康啊各方面都非常之有幫助嘅。同時咧嚟咧就喺呢9月30號咧，我哋仲有一個嘅，OK September 30th another clean up campaign OK in our neighborhood。
仲有問題，如果如果有人想參加可以參加。
Yes。嗱，如果大家想做清潔運動嘅咧，可以嚟我哋大家嚟，好似大家參加㗎嚇。唔論老幼，好似我好老嘅，我照樣掃嘅。Me, I do the clean up too. Don't worry about your age, whatever. Don't say that, oh, you are old. No such thing. I'm old too. I did the cleaning last Saturday too, along Kings Highway. 唔好話你自己年紀太大，個個都掃得到㗎嚇。攞個鏟下 ，OK，and shuffle the street clean，OK， 大家可以報名。You could participate in this campaign activity, okay? Anybody want to do it? Let me know, and also Mr. Colton's office know. Put your name down, okay? I want to do the cleaning up, okay?
And, by the way, Dr. Laura and some of the CASS members who were there on Saturday, they were more energetic than the high school students. So you got good experience, and you can do, And I have to commend Dr. Laura. I mean, he brought that group and they did some job there. Second thing is, we had a meeting on Monday, a press conference in front of my office. And Dr. Laura and Angel Wu were there. There is a new threat to the specialized high school admission test, the SHSAT, which affects, your children and your grandchildren. They want to, again, for 4 years, they kept trying to cancel the test. And we fought them. We kept fighting very hard. Stanley Yang, who was at our press conference also, one of the leaders in the fight against canceling that test, and pointing out the impact, if they cancel that test, the negative impact it will have on our neighborhood. Because a lot of students from this neighborhood take the test and they pass it. And if they cancel the test and put other ways of selecting students for the specialized high schools, what's going to happen is those students who were admitted to the specialized high schools are not going to be able to go there if they reduce the number of seats. And those students are now going to have to be placed in high schools in this neighborhood, and they are going to take the place of students who were in those high schools. So we're going to have a big shortage of high school seats in this neighborhood. And it's going to make a difference, as Stanley Yang, who was at our press conference, discussed with the data. Second thing is, obviously, this test, which has existed for decades, has been shown to be a fair measure of a person's ability to succeed in a gifted program in the specialized high schools. There is a problem that there's a lack of diversity. That problem is not caused because the test is bad. That problem is caused because the Department of Education canceled the gifted classes in all of the neighborhoods that are not passing the test. I taught for 11 years, and I taught in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And 3 of the 11 years we had a gifted class that I was able to teach. So I taught a gifted class in Bedford-Stuyvesant 3 out of the 11 years that I was there. There were 4 classes on each grade. 1 was a gifted class, the other 3 were not. And I will tell you, the children in my class, in the gifted classes, not only when I taught it, but whoever taught it, those children, all African American and Hispanic children, were reading years above grade level. They were going and taking the SHSAT, and they were passing it. And in those years, one of the specialized high schools, Brooklyn Tech, was majority African American. Because the gifted programs were there in the elementary schools and the middle schools. Children were in those classes. They were able to pass the SHSAT, and that was a good thing. But then they canceled those gifted programs. And I'm sad to say, personally, why I think they canceled them, the children were learning to read. They were reading years above grade level. What was happening was parents were coming into the school and saying, hey, my daughter can't read, but my daughter's friend down the block goes to this very same school, and she's reading so well. Why aren't you teaching my daughter to read? And the school system didn't like that. Having parents coming and pointing out, my kid can't read, why aren't you teaching my kid to read? The kid down the block is learning to read, reads very well. Why aren't you teaching my kid? The Department of Ed must put the money in order to have remedial programs that work. And in the last 3 years, each year the Department of Education has gotten an increase of hundreds of millions of dollars of funds. So there's no excuse why they can't do that. They can fund gifted programs, they can fund remedial classes for those children who are having a problem reading and doing math and science, and they can fund special education. They have hundreds of millions of dollars additional money every year. And I fought very hard for that. You were part of that fight. You signed petitions to get more money for education. So, and don't let anybody tell you that's not a real threat. It is a real threat. There's an attempt made. The New York Post had an article 2 weeks ago saying that there's a new attack on the SHSAT. That wasn't made up by me. That was made up, the Post said it. Others have been saying it. And if we don't prepare early, the Department of Ed, the system is going to take the easy way. Remove the evidence that the gifted programs work so that they don't have to explain why they're not having programs that work with the children who are having trouble performing. If it's working, don't change it. Where it isn't working, like with the children who are not performing well, got to change the remedial programs and do the hard job of making sure they learn. Special ed children, you've got to make sure they have the funding so that they can complete their individual education plan. That's what we've always stood for, and we're going to continue to fight for that. And with your help, we're going to win.
OK，thank you， 嗱，我翻譯啲重